Right, today is the start of Mental Health Awareness Week, and Sky Sports News will bring you interviews from across football on the pressures of being a manager. To kick off our series, we sat down with Sam Allardyce, who's managed for club and country across a 30-year career. Now, he spoke openly about coping with losing the England job and the ups and downs of management and the importance of mental health.
The thing is with that England job, it was your dream job. You were an English manager, becoming the England manager. It was the pinnacle. And then you lost the job not because of performances on the pitch, bad results, but because of a newspaper sting operation. How did you square that in your own mind? What can you remember these feelings back then, Sam?
Yeah, I think that I think initially you sort of took yourself away and hide away, and then you got to say to yourself, get out there, face it. You have to leave the past in the past, and yes, you can dwell on it and you do have thoughts about it, but you've got to move on and look to the future.
You're one of the most experienced managers we've got in the game. It's as simple as that. But in that past, how did you deal with the mental stress, the mental pressures, the challenges to your mental health? How did you get away from it? Did you ever feel overwhelmed by it?
Me, I just use my family use in terms of going away on holiday and being able to break away from it.
Could you ever switch off though?
Yeah.
You did manage to. Is that the key to it?
Yeah, to learn to, yes. That takes quite a while, but if you talk with the right people and use the right, as you well, I know well into sports psychology, you speak to the sports psychologist, you sit down with them for long periods of time, and they help you manage these situations.
Any advice for up-and-coming managers? Last one from me.
Keep winning. If you don't win, you don't stay in the job.
Well, there you are. You can read the full interview with Sam Allardyce and watch the video on our website and on the Sky Sports app. Let's talk more about this with the League Managers Association Chief Executive, Richard Bevan now. Good afternoon to you, Richard. Just how much do you feel a strain does have being a professional football manager put on an individual's mental health, do you feel?
I think football management, like actually many walks of life, where you have low amount of time in the job, I think where setbacks come hard and fast, you're always going to find that the stresses and strains of the job are going to be something that you really need to be aware of. And I think the mental awareness programs are so important, so that today if you want to succeed in football management, you need to be physically and mentally fit to build your career.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we focus, don't we, on the elite managers in the media, obviously, but it's worse for managers lower down the football pyramid, would you feel?
Yes, to a degree, although I think football's a very public business, whichever league you work in. In the lower leagues, the average age is probably 10 years younger. The average life of tenure in the job in League 2, for example, is around 9 months compared to now 3 years in the Premier League. Financial implications are obviously very different, paying your mortgage. So the pressures are different. It's equally trying to understand the working environment so you can build those coping mechanisms and then resilience to build your career, stay in the job long enough to survive, win and succeed as a manager.
As Sam was saying, though, you can't always win, though. That was his advice. Keep winning. I mean, what do you say to that?
Yes, obviously it's a results business. But I would say that what's really important, particularly first-time managers, is making sure that you manage the expectations of the owners and the fans, the players, everybody involved in the club, so that you can target what are the wins. Win could be avoiding relegation, mid-table, winning a cup, getting to a quarter-final. And once you've done that, you can have some clear vision, as Gerard Houllier used to say. Clear vision separates the best from the rest, and I think that's very true.
Yeah. It's a good quote. Look, I know the LMA has got its own medical advisory team. I think it's got 2 psychiatrists and plans for some additional sports psychologists. Tell us more about how that's being used.
Yes, so since 2020, we've had 2 in-house psychiatrists, and we have a world-class medical advisory board that really help guide everything about the LMA, the education, the assessments. Since 2020, I think I was told yesterday that over 440 appointments have been made with the psychiatrists and over 540 physical assessments have been made. So that really shows you the appetite for understanding the mental environment, understanding the need for being very proactive with your mental health. And that clip that you saw, that we saw from Sam, was around the launch of a really important campaign in Shining a Light on Suicide campaign, bringing out open, honest conversations and bringing the focus of suicide and indeed mental health out of the dark.
Richard, did it surprise you that there were so many? Over 400 people are asking for help within our game. Does that figure surprise you?
Yes, the great thing about the members of the LMA, they're very focused on the friends, families and colleagues that they work with. So we try to provide that support mechanism. And I think the main change that I've seen is not just that reactive aspect of wanting support, but actually being very proactive. And that's why the LMA Institute and all of the masterclasses, the clinics and the well-being programs that we put on have that mental health embedded into every aspect of it.
Obviously, without naming names, do you believe that the LMA's psychiatric support has saved lives?
Absolutely. Over the time that I've been at the LMA, both physical and mental wellness, being proactive, has played such an important part in the well-being of many of our members. And I'm really pleased to see that the Games mental health declaration has actually helped train over 10,000 people working in the game onto mental well-being practices. So having those open conversations, bringing suicide, the stigma and the focus on suicide out of the dark, we can all save lives.
Do you feel that there's also responsibility perhaps for media in the industry, you know, because you spoke at the top about the situation, you know, it's trying to manage expectations. Well, perhaps sometimes, you know, we're at fault for kind of over-egging these expectations, but the fans themselves, you know, they want results. So how do you manage this situation?
Again, that importance we talked earlier about coming back and managing the expectations when you go into a job. But at the end of the day, that's the career that the manager has chosen. Unlike perhaps many other industries, you're not so much in the manager is so much in the spotlight. There is that 24/7 media attention. And actually the social media is also playing a very big part in the recruitment and termination of many managers and coaches. So it's an important part, but understanding the environment that you work in, building those coping mechanisms is the way forward, having the toolkit. And that's why in the LMA we have 22 mentors working with the managers. It's basically don't do it on your own, get your recruitment right, have a clear vision, and hopefully be as successful as you can.
Yeah, that sounds some really good advice. Just finally, Richard, I know that you've taken great strides in educating managers in the hope of better preparing them for the job. I guess that's what you're kind of alluding to there. As part of that education, there's a special section on mental resilience. Is that right?
Yes. In fact, we're just recruiting another psychologist at the moment, but the LMA Institute has over 900 coaches going through various programs. We have the LMA Diploma, which has been going over 20 years in football management, and every aspect of the modules will have physical and health well-being training and understanding, as I mentioned earlier, about the culture that they work in so they can understand how to survive and thrive in the job.
And sorry, I just want to get your quote I did say finally, but I'm going to just push you for one more. Obviously it is Mental Health Awareness Week. What would your advice be to anyone that's struggling right now?
I think have open conversations, honest conversations, and as I've heard many managers speak on the videos that we've been doing with the Shining a Light on Suicide campaign, and that is to talk. And if people are in difficult times, ring the Samaritans people. There's some great people out there, 116 123. Check out the website as well. There's a 20-minute training program on that, and what I learned from that was see the issues, say the words, and signpost. And with only 20 minutes of training, we can make a real difference to many people's lives.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard, for that bit of advice as well at the end there. Thank you.